Before we continue, tell us where in the world are you tuning in from? We love seeing how far our stories travel. Marcus Rivera wiped the sweat from his forehead as he stacked the last of the dinner plates in the restaurant's industrial dishwasher. At 24, he'd been working double shifts at Tony's Diner for 3 years, ever since his ex-girlfriend had dropped their son Jamie off with a note saying she couldn't handle being a mother anymore. The clock on the kitchen wall showed 11:47 p.m., another 14-hour day behind him, another mountain of bills waiting at home. As he untied his grease-stained apron, Marcus caught his reflection in the stainless steel surface of the walk-in freezer. Dark circles under brown eyes that had once sparkled with dreams of college and a career in engineering. Those dreams felt like they belonged to someone else now. The November rain was coming down hard as Marcus hurried toward the bus stop, his thin jacket offering little protection against the Chicago wind. That's when he saw her, huddled under the narrow overhang of a closed bookstore, completely soaked and shivering. She couldn't have been more than 19 or 20, with shoulder-length auburn hair plastered to her head and clothes that looked like they hadn't been changed in days. Her backpack, stuffed with what appeared to be everything she owned, sat in a puddle beside her feet. Marcus had walked past dozens of homeless people on his way to work every day for years. Chicago was full of them. But something about this girl's posture, the way she held herself despite her circumstances, made him stop. "Hey," he called out, jogging back toward her. "You okay?" She looked up with startling green eyes, immediately defensive. "I'm fine, just waiting for the rain to stop. The forecast says it's not stopping until tomorrow morning." Marcus glanced at his watch. The last bus would be here in 8 minutes. "Look, I don't know your situation, but no one should be out here in this weather. I've got a couch and some leftover pizza, no strings attached." The girl stared at him like he'd spoken a foreign language. "Why would you help me? You don't even know me." "Because I've got a 4-year-old son, and I'd hope someone would help him if he ever needed it." Marcus extended his hand. "I'm Marcus." After a long moment, she reached out and shook it. Emma Chen. 20 minutes later, they were climbing 3 flights of stairs to Marcus's cramped 1-bedroom apartment. The building was old. The hallways smelled like decades of cooking oil and disappointment, but it was home. As Marcus fumbled with his keys, he could hear the television playing softly inside. "Mrs. Rodriguez watches Jamie when I work late," he explained, opening the door to reveal a tiny living space dominated by children's toys and textbooks. "She lives next door." A heavy-set woman in her 60s emerged from the kitchen, giving Emma a curious but not unfriendly look. "This is Emma," Marcus said quickly. "She needed a place to stay tonight." Mrs. Rodriguez nodded, gathering her purse. Jamie ate his dinner and brushed his teeth. "He's been asking about the bedtime story you promised him." After she left, Marcus found his son curled up on the couch, fighting sleep while watching cartoons. "Daddy!" Jamie scrambled up, wrapping his small arms around Marcus's legs. "You're home!" "I'm home, buddy." Marcus ruffled the boy's dark hair, so similar to his own. "This is Emma. She's going to stay with us tonight." Jamie looked up at Emma with the fearless curiosity of childhood. "Hi, are you hungry? Daddy makes really good grilled cheese." Emma's composure finally cracked, her eyes filled with tears as she knelt down to Jamie's level. "Hi there, I bet your daddy makes the best grilled cheese in the whole world." As Marcus heated up leftover pizza and made grilled cheese for all 3 of them, he watched Emma interact with his son. She listened intently to Jamie's rambling stories about preschool, helped him build a tower with his blocks, and seemed genuinely delighted by his 4-year-old observations about the world. "What's your story?" Marcus asked quietly after Jamie had fallen asleep between them on the couch, his head in Emma's lap. Emma was quiet for so long that Marcus thought she might not answer. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely above a whisper. "I'm a student at Northwestern, was a student. I got kicked out of my dorm 3 weeks ago for not paying fees. I've been staying at the library, the student center, anywhere I could find. What about family? It's complicated. Emma's hand absently stroked Jamie's hair. My father and I had a falling out. I wanted to prove I could make it on my own without his help. Marcus understood family complications. His own parents had cut him off when he dropped out of community. College to work full-time after Jamie was born. What were you studying? Business and economics. I had a partial scholarship, but it wasn't enough to cover everything. Emma looked around the modest apartment, at Marcus's textbooks stacked on milk crates, at the evidence of a young father doing his best. What about you? Those look like engineering books. Night school. Online classes when I can afford them. Marcus shrugged. Someday, maybe. Emma stayed that night, and somehow one night became a week, then 2 weeks, then a month. She found work at a coffee shop near campus, insisting on contributing to groceries and utilities despite Marcus's protests. She walked Jamie to preschool when Marcus had early shifts, helped him with the simple homework assignments that made him feel like a big kid. More than that, she brought a lightness to their small apartment that had been missing since it had just been Marcus and Jamie against the world. She made Jamie laugh with silly voices while reading bedtime stories. She helped Marcus study for his online exams, her business courses giving her insights into the practical applications of his engineering problems. On quiet evenings after Jamie was asleep, they would sit together on the couch, sharing stories of their childhoods, their dreams, their fears. Marcus learned that Emma had grown up wealthy but lonely, that her father's success in business had come at the cost of their relationship. Emma learned that Marcus had once had a full scholarship to Northwestern himself, the same school she'd attended, but had given it up without hesitation when Jamie was born. "Do you ever regret it?" Emma asked one night as they shared a cup of hot chocolate, their usual evening ritual. "Regret, Jamie? Never." Marcus was quiet for a moment. "Regret. Not finishing school? Sometimes. But I can always go back to school. Jamie only gets one childhood." It was during their 6th week together that Marcus first noticed the expensive watch Emma tried to hide under long sleeves. The designer label on jeans she claimed to have bought at a thrift store. The way she seemed to know things about business and finance that went far beyond what any undergraduate should understand. He didn't question it. Everyone had secrets, had pieces of their past they weren't ready to share. What mattered was who she was with them. In their tiny apartment, building block towers and making grilled cheese sandwiches and helping a 4-year-old sound out picture book words. The truth came out on a Tuesday in February. Marcus was walking home from his morning shift when he saw the Blacktown car parked outside their building, looking as out of place in their working-class neighborhood as a diamond in a coal mine. The man waiting in their apartment hallway was tall, silver-haired, and wearing a suit that probably cost more than Marcus made in 6 months. When he turned around, Marcus could see Emma's green eyes and determined chin. "Mr. Rivera, I presume." The man's voice carried the authority of someone accustomed to being obeyed. "My name is William Chen. I believe you've been housing my daughter." Marcus felt his stomach drop. "Emma's your daughter. Her real name is Emma Chen Wellington. Her mother was a Wellington before we married." William's eyes were cold, calculating. "Did she tell you that she's the heir to a $50 million fortune? That she walked away from everything because I refused to let her throw her life away on some idealistic notion of helping the poor? She said you had a falling out." "A falling out?" William laughed bitterly. "I refused to fund her naive plans, to start a non-profit organization instead of joining the family business. So she decided to play poor, to prove some point about understanding the struggles of the working class." The apartment door opened, and Emma stepped out, having heard voices in the hallway. When she saw her father, her face went white. "Hello, Emma?" William's voice softened slightly. "You've had your little adventure. It's time to come home." "This isn't an adventure, Dad. This is my life." Emma moved to stand beside Marcus, but he found himself stepping away from her. "Your life?" William gestured at the peeling wallpaper, the flickering fluorescent light in the hallway. "You're playing house with a dishwasher who has a child he can't afford to raise properly. Don't talk about Marcus that way." Emma's voice was fierce, but Marcus was staring at her with growing understanding and hurt. "How much of it was real?" Marcus asked quietly. "The job at the coffee shop, the student loans, the struggling to pay rent." "All of it," Emma said desperately. "I've been working. I've been paying my share." "With what money? Money from your trust fund? Money from Daddy?" Emma's silence was answer enough. William pulled out a checkbook. "Name your price, Mr. Rivera. What will it take for you to convince my daughter to stop this foolishness and come home where she belongs?" Marcus looked at the checkbook, then at Emma, then at his apartment door, behind which his son was probably watching cartoons and waiting for his daddy to come home. He thought about the stack of bills on his kitchen table, the student loans he'd never be able to pay off, the dreams he'd put on hold indefinitely. "I don't want your money," Marcus said finally, "but I think Emma needs to decide what she really wants, because this, us, it only works if we're both being honest about who we are." That night, after William had left with promises to return, Emma sat at Marcus's kitchen table while he made dinner for Jamie, the silence between them heavy with unspoken truths. "I never lied to you," Emma said finally. "I do work at the coffee shop. I do pay rent from that job. The money from my family, I haven't touched it in 8 months. But you could." Marcus set a plate of chicken nuggets in front of Jamie, who was chattering about his day at preschool, oblivious to the tension in the room. Any time things got too hard, any time you wanted to stop playing poor, you could just go home. "It's not playing." Emma's voice cracked. "The way I feel about you, about Jamie, about this life we've built together, none of that is pretend." Marcus sat down across from her, his own dinner untouched. "But it's not sustainable, is it? Eventually you'll get tired of the struggle. Eventually you'll want to go back to your real life." "This is my real life." "No, Emma, this is your experiment." Marcus reached across the table and took her hand. "And that's okay. Maybe you needed to see how the other half lives. Maybe this whole experience will help you when you do start that nonprofit you wanted to create. But don't ask me and Jamie to be part of your research project." Emma was crying now, tears streaming down her face. "I love you. I love both of you. Doesn't that count for something?" "It counts for everything," Marcus said softly. "But love isn't enough when we're living in 2 different worlds." Emma left the next morning, but not before hugging Jamie goodbye and promising to visit soon. She pressed an envelope into Marcus's hand as she walked out the door. Inside was a check for $50,000 and a note. "Not charity, an investment. In your education, in your dreams, in the man who taught me what real strength looks like." Marcus stared at the check for a long time, then slowly tore it into pieces. 3 months later, Marcus was surprised to find Emma waiting for him outside Tony's diner after his shift. She looked different, more polished, but also somehow more genuine. "I started the non-profit," she said without preamble, "the Emma Chen Foundation for Working Parent Education. We provide scholarships and childcare support for single parents trying to finish their degrees." Marcus smiled, despite himself. "That sounds like you. I want you to be our first scholarship recipient. Full tuition, books, childcare for Jamie. While you're in class, no strings attached, no expectations except that you finish your degree." "Emma, it's not charity, Marcus. It's recognition. You're exactly the kind of person this program was designed to help. And maybe, when you graduate, when you're established in your career, maybe we can try again, as equals this time." Marcus looked at her standing there in the Chicago evening, confident and beautiful, and offering him everything he'd ever dreamed of. "What makes you think I'll want to try again?" Emma smiled, the same smile that had first made his heart skip during those quiet evenings on his couch. "Because some things are worth waiting for, and some love is worth fighting for, even when it seems impossible." 2 years later, Marcus Rivera graduated summa cum laude with a degree in mechanical engineering. Emma Chen was in the audience, along with a 6-year-old Jamie, who cheered so loudly when his father's name was called that he made the entire auditorium laugh. At the graduation party, held in the community center where Emma's foundation had its offices, Marcus found Emma on the back porch, looking up at the stars. "Thank you," he said, joining her at the railing, "for everything, for believing in me when I stopped believing in myself." "Thank you for teaching me what real love looks like," Emma replied, "for showing me that the best things in life can't be bought." Marcus was quiet for a moment, gathering his courage. "Emma, I got a job offer, structural engineering firm downtown, good salary, good benefits, stable future." "That's wonderful, Marcus, you've earned it. I was wondering if maybe you'd like to help me celebrate. Maybe over dinner, a real date this time, between two people who know exactly who they are and what they want." Emma turned to face him, her green eyes bright with tears and hope. "I'd like that very much." Behind them, through the open door, they could hear Jamie's laughter mixing with the voices of the families Emma's foundation had helped, the lives that had been changed by her commitment to making a difference, and Marcus's proof that dreams deferred are not dreams denied. Sometimes the most beautiful love stories are the ones where two people find their way back to each other, not despite their differences, but because of everything they learned while they were apart. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who needs to remember that real love is worth waiting for, worth fighting for, and worth the patience it takes to build something lasting together.